Hello, my name is Shannon Shantz, and thank you for joining us today on Easy Eats. Today we are going to be making some simple pumpkin dip. Today for our recipe, we will be using canned pumpkin, a container of Cool Whip, one box of vanilla pudding, some cinnamon, and some nutmeg. We also have some ginger snaps and vanilla wafers to dip with. Today I have two different sized pumpkins here. We're going to carve one to put the dip inside, or if you do not want to use a pumpkin, you can use different ceramic containers that are shaped like pumpkins or just a bowl. So to prepare today, we are going to get our container, which is going to be a pumpkin today, ready for the dip to go inside. But as you can see, we have a full pumpkin here, so we need to go ahead and kind of carve it out, take the seeds out of it, and get it all rinsed and ready so that when our dip is done, we can put it inside the pumpkin and have our own little festive bowl for our dip. Okay, so just as a reminder, when we do our cooking projects, it's very important that we always wash our hands and have clean hands. So that was already taken care of. Hands are clean, ready to go. We are going to be using some knives to carve our pumpkins, so it's important that we are always safe with our knives. So we're gonna go ahead and get started. And I'm going to cut a circle around the top of the pumpkin with hopes that we can take it off, and then we'll have a lid to put back on once our dip is complete. So here we go. We're gonna start our cutting around our pumpkin. So we have to always be safe and be careful when we're cutting. We don't want any injuries. So we're just making a circle around the top of the pumpkin. And just some fun facts for you. There are 40 types of pumpkins around the world. The word pumpkin comes from the Greek word papon, which means large melon. The earliest pumpkin pie made in America was quite different from the pumpkin pie we enjoy today. Pilgrims and early settlers made pumpkin pie by hollowing out a pumpkin, filling the shell with milk, honey, and spices, and baking it. The pumpkin capital of the world is Morton, Illinois, home of Libby's pumpkin industry. The state of Illinois grows the most pumpkins. It harvests about 12,300 acres of pumpkins annually. And there's actually no pumpkin in pumpkin spice. It only contains cinnamon, nutmeg, ginger, and cloves. Once you get those seeds out, you're going to want to rinse your pumpkin out and have it all clean, and then you will be ready to move on to your pumpkin dip. All right, so we're going to go ahead and start and make our dip. We will start with one box of vanilla pudding. So you just go ahead and open your box, and we're going to pour it into the bowl. And just a reminder, once again, that when we do our cooking projects, that we have clean hands. So after I was touching all the gooey pumpkin, I've washed my hands and we're ready to go. Next, we're going to add 1 can of pumpkin, and I'm going to take the can opener and open the can of pumpkin. I'm going to place that into the bowl with the vanilla pudding. And once you have it all in there, I'm going to go ahead and mix kind of just going to go ahead and mix it up just a little bit before we put our spices in, so that our pudding and our pumpkin is just a little mixed up. It doesn't have to be fully mixed just yet. And then we need 1 teaspoon of cinnamon. So here's our cinnamon. And I'm gonna take the full lid off. It makes it easier for when you're trying to get your measuring spoon in there. So then you just kind of stick your measuring spoon in and go ahead and pour that in. This recipe just calls for a pinch of nutmeg. So a pinch is kind of just a little bit from your fingers, just a tiny little pinch. It's not big enough to be a teaspoon, it's not big enough to be a half teaspoon. So we just take a tiny little bit and sprinkle that in. And I'm gonna go ahead and kind of mix a little bit before we put our Cool Whip in, just to get those spices mixed up with the pumpkin and the pudding. And our last ingredient is a whole container of whipped topping. So we're just gonna pour that in, and then we're gonna mix everything up, and our dip will then be complete. This is where we do want to make sure that we get everything mixed well at this point. So our pumpkin pie dip is complete. We have our pumpkin, which is carved out, it's all hollow, it's clean, it's ready to go, and we are going to go ahead and place our dip into the pumpkin, so then it will be ready to be served, and we can get our cookies out and try it. I think we have it. Our dip is now inside the pumpkin, and it's ready to be shared. So our dip is complete. We now have it in our pumpkin that we're going to serve it in. While we're getting ready to serve it, I'm going to go ahead and put the lid on the pumpkin. If you don't have a pumpkin, I have a couple different containers in front of me that you could use instead. If you don't have a pumpkin-shaped container, that's quite okay. Any kind of bowl will work just fine. So today I have ginger snaps and vanilla wafers, and we're going to place them on the tray just to kind of give it a nice look and be ready to present to our family or friends that we're going to share our dip with. So I'm just going to do a little like 4 corners. So I'm going to put some ginger snaps in each of the corners and some vanilla wafers in the other corners. And then just have our pumpkin as the centerpiece for our dough. And like I said earlier, you don't have to use these cookies if there's other things that you prefer to use for your dip. You can do that as well, or you can add them in addition to the cookies. Whatever you like best and whatever you want to serve to your friends and family. Our pumpkin dip is complete. I hope that you enjoy this delicious recipe. Thank you for joining us today on Easy Eats, and I'm going to go ahead and try our dip today. Thank you. Am I done?